Dude, it freaking fits. Whoever said minivans aren't cool. Hello, welcome. We're gonna continue work on my quarter for this side of the jump box. Today, I'm gonna cut these 2x4s and they're gonna be the cross members between these transition sides that I cut. I'll just show you step by step of how this works. The first thing that we need to do is we need to measure how wide this is gonna be. So I want it to be the width of this deck, which I believe is 6 feet. So let's double check that. It is exactly 6 feet wide. So the goal is going to be to cut these so they are 6 feet wide, but actually they're going to be just shy of 6 feet because I have to accommodate for the thickness of these. So I'm going to measure the thickness of this, times that by 2, and subtract it from the width of the 2x4. So 6 feet minus whatever I measure this out to be. This is where we find out how thick these actually are because I didn't know. So these are 3/4 inch. So that means you double that up, it's going to be 1.5 inches. So when I draw this out to where I want it to be, that was a fail. It's pretty windy out today, so it's kind of hard to work. So instead, I'm going to go shy of 6 feet. So I'm going to go 5 feet, 10.5 inches. And I'll cut it there. And so once it's in between these and all put together, the full width of the quarter pipe will be 6 feet wide. So now we're actually ready to do some cutting, and like what I usually do is I'll cut the first piece, and after that I don't have to keep measuring. I just use the piece I cut to draw the line for the other pieces and cut the other ones. So now I just have to grab my circular saw out of the bag, get my extension cord, and then I'll do some cuts. So the circular saw, I must have been cutting 2x4s with it because I have it at the right depth. But you want to make sure that you set your plate for the right depth. This is a much newer tool than the jigsaw that I have. So it's got a lot of safety mechanisms in it. So like you can't even pull the trigger without pushing this little lever, things like that. My newer tools are much safer. So I'm going to plug this in, knowing that it's not going to just go. And this is a tool you definitely want your safety goggles or glasses, whatever you have on. These are actually the ones I use to go to the shooting range with. I mean, you can really use any kind of good protective glasses. Just make sure they're rated to take chips or blasts or whatever. I guess I have no clue. I just know these are rated to handle something if it hits the lenses, and they're not going to shatter and put chips in my eyes. So let's go ahead and make this first cut. I don't really need to draw a line. I mean, with this saw, it's just going to cut pretty close. It has nice little guides on here, so I just basically, and I'm done. So now what I'm going to do is take my other 2x4s and use this one to measure their length and just cut a whole bunch of them. You ever have one of those moments where you have a pen or pencil or marker and you can't figure out what pocket you put it in? Yeah. So because I know that I drew this right at the end of this, I'm gonna cut just slightly inside the line that I drew, and that'll line me perfectly up with this board. We'll see how it looks when I'm done. Spot on. Perfect. So I'm not gonna do all of these on camera, but I'll just grab the next one, repeat this step, and get a whole bunch of them cut. All right, now that I got all my pieces cut, or most of them, I don't think I got all of them. I probably need a couple of cross braces. I'm gonna go ahead and start adding them between the two transitions. This can get a little tricky the first couple of them, but once you get a couple in, it's really easy after that. Okay, this first part's always a little awkward. What I do is I pre-drill a couple of screws where I need them to be. I line this up where I drew my marking. Yep. Try not to fall over. And once I'm here, I can basically just hold it in place. All I really need to do is get these screws started into that board. And once I do, once I get it started, everything kind of holds itself into place, and then I can double check my work and then go ahead and drill these in. So now I have that side, and then I'll attach the other side, and then everything will just kind of hold itself in place while I do all the other boards. If you're curious to know what I'm using, is I basically just use deck screws. I had a whole bunch of these with the little square. I don't know what these are called. What do they call them? Number 2 square. So I don't know if I like them. They strip out really easily, but I am able to get it done, and I bought a whole box of these bits, so I just go through bits fairly regularly. There's probably a better system out there. I know Phillips doesn't work all that great. They strip out, and I've seen the ones that are like torque screws. They might be better. I've never used them, so who knows. Anyway, let's continue this build. All right, I got a couple of screws pre-drilled into there. Got my line drawn where I need this to be. Gotta line everything up. Pretty close. Grab my drill, put these in. So there you go. Let's go ahead and take a little bit of a look at this so you can kind of see where I'm going. So I'll do a little quick walk through here. You can see that I got my first support going across. You can see it's just a tad shy of the overall height, because once I put a piece of plywood on there, which is going to have this little bit of deck that'll lead into that deck, it'll work. I'm going to have to figure out what to do about these, because when I built this I didn't really plan on having a quarter pipe over here, so these are going to have to get removed and put down underneath or support some other way, and that way I can run this flush against that. I don't want this little gap here. That should be pretty easy to figure out, but let's walk back and take a look at it from here. So basically now the plan is to just measure everywhere I need to put a cross member, and I just put the cross member in and go all the way to the bottom, and then I'll need one to go across the bottom for just stability, and I'll probably also put something along the back like diagonal wise to keep it from wobbling side to side if it needs it. A lot of times when you have these all in place, it's pretty solid. We'll see. I kind of just figure out as I go at this point, because sometimes I'll build something and it's like super solid, other times it needs a little reinforcement work. So let's go ahead and start adding the cross members. So the first one that I do on the bottom is I lay it flat, but we don't want them all flat. We're going to want them vertical because they're stronger vertically. I do this one because then it's a good place to mount the last bit of plywood before it goes to the ground, and it'll keep the plywood from getting loose. So we'll do a vertical one at the next point where we get enough distance to do so. Make sure that's flush before I drill it all the way in. So when you do your other supports, you want them to be like this, vertical against the plywood. You don't want them to all be flat like this. You might think that, oh, more surface area is better on the plywood, but actually the 2x4s are a lot stronger this way because you're going to be landing on this. So you want to have them vertical like this. I only laid the flat one, like I said, so I could mount the plywood to it, and then I'll come along here and find out where is that spot that I can finally get a full width in there from the ground, and then I'll insert that one, and then from there I'm gonna measure on this. I'm probably gonna go an inch spacing. I thought of going 6-inch spacing, but I think that's a little overkill. This isn't gonna be a ramp that's going to have a lot of hard landings on it. It's mostly going to be for launching and for doing some small stuff coming in. If you're building a bigger ramp, like a larger quarter pipe, 4, 5, 6 feet high, and you're planning on going up and then re-entering, you want a much stronger ramp. You want to go probably 6-inch spacing, and you might even want to go have a centerpiece in here, so you would do 3 feet with another piece of plywood cut to the transition and another 3 feet. So the strength of your ramp is really going to depend on how you're going to use it. I'm going to go with 1 foot spacing. That also reduces the weight, so when I move it around it's not going to be that heavy. And then if I need to add more to it, I can get underneath and put in more 2x4s to build some strength. But I'm going to just try the 1 foot spacing. I think it'll be enough. That one over there is 1 foot spacing. I haven't had an issue with it, and it doesn't even have that great of plywood on the top of it. So I'll go ahead and just start putting these in, do a little bit of video of that, and then we'll get on to putting the plywood on. So we're getting close. Got probably one more to do, and then I'll probably put something near the top. So 2 more pieces in, and then 1 across near the bottom there, and then I'm done with my 2x4s, and then I'll move on to putting the plywood on here. This is looking pretty sweet. Almost done. So there it is. All the supports for the transition. I just have one more piece to put across that bottom corner there, and this thing will be ready. I'll lay the 2 sheets of plywood on here and cut these off. I'll use the Sawzall, put the deck on, and it'll be ready to ride. Pretty stoked now. Okay, so here we are. All the supports are in, cross members along the back, and all I have to do now is put the plywood on, cut these off, and lay a little bit of plywood here to add to the deck, and I have a quarter pipe and a short launch to landing. Pretty cool. So that's it for this video. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching.